Prince Olisa had gone to the palace to meet with Princess Ucheoma, his betrothed. A maiden came to serve him water, and by mistake, she stepped on his shoes. He slapped her, called her mad and insane. The maiden tried to defend herself, but the prince lashed out at her again. He even insulted the guards, calling them fat. The maiden went back to the princess and told her that the prince slapped her, and if not for the king showing up, he would have done worse. The princess wondered how he behaves in his own palace if he hits a maiden for a simple provocation. Nana told her maybe he was just having a bad day. The princess then said she would test him again. She decided not to meet him and to see how he would react if she didn't show up. As the prince and the king caught up talking about family, the queen went to see her daughter. The princess pretended to be sick, crying that her stomach was hurting and she had eaten poisoned food. She said she couldn't see the prince in her condition as she might embarrass herself. She told her mother to call the doctor but not to let the prince into her room. Later, after Prince Olisa had left, the princess told her father she would not marry the prince. She said she was in love with another man, Afam. The king told her that tradition required her to marry into royalty, and since Afam wasn't royalty, she couldn't marry him. The princess insisted she would meet the prince, but she would not marry him. Prince Olisa was furious that the princess stood him up. He questioned why she disrespected him, saying she knew he was coming and should have waited for him. He claimed it was her duty as a woman to wait. His brother, Crown Prince Emest, told him that no woman today would accept the way he thinks and talks about women, especially someone as exposed as the princess. Olisa then turned to the maiden and angrily ordered her to leave his presence. Meanwhile, the princess was getting ready to go meet her lover, Afam. Nana tried to stop her, warning her she'd get into trouble, but the princess didn't listen, saying she knew all the routes and wouldn't be caught. Afam, however, was out of his house with another lady, kissing her and promising her the world. When he turned, he saw the princess looking at him. Afam ran to her and explained that the girl meant nothing to him and that he loved only her. The princess told him she didn't believe him and that their relationship was over. Heartbroken, the princess returned to the palace and told Nana to inform the guards never to let Afam into the palace again. Meanwhile, Prince Emest was begging his wife, Eunice, to stay with him, but she insisted she needed to travel and see the world. Emest reminded her that she always knew he would be king and couldn't abandon his duties. Eunice, however, said his brother could become king instead, and then she left. Later, King Chijioke called his sons for a talk. He told Emest that he had warned him about marrying a maiden and traveling with her outside the village. Emest defended himself, saying he only wanted her to get exposure and see the world so she could be equipped to handle the affairs of the kingdom. Olisa interrupted, saying he shouldn't have married a maiden. Emest told him he couldn't understand love because he had never found anyone to love and that we don't choose who we fall in love with. Princess Ucheoma was packing her bags, ready to leave the palace. She said she couldn't marry someone who didn't treat her people right and that she would only marry for love. Nana told her not to judge the prince based on one bad impression. She added that the princess might be wrong without getting to know him better and that she had a plan if the princess would trust her. Nana then traveled to Prince Emest's kingdom and convinced two of the maidens to come work at their palace, promising that their salaries would be increased. The scene shifted to King Chijioke and his sons. A maiden was peeling oranges for the king. It was actually Princess Ucheoma in disguise, calling herself Kambili. The king told Olisa to go meet the princess again, but Olisa refused. He said that the last time he tried, she didn't bother to see him, and she should be the one apologizing. He said he wouldn't chase anyone because he was the prince. The king reminded him that whoever married the princess would inherit the kingdom. Olisa replied that the princess should be happy he was even considering marrying her. And if she continued acting the way she did, she would end up with a non-royal, which would not be good for her kingdom. Later, one of the maidens brought water to Prince Olisa. He asked where his royal cup was, and the maiden said the guard had the key to where it was kept. Olisa poured the water on her face, called her useless, and ordered her to fetch his cup. The maiden reported the incident to Kambili. She said it was wrong and that at the Anyake kingdom, where she worked before, they were treated like family. The princess said she was going to talk to him. The maiden begged her not to, but she insisted. Kambili approached the prince, while he was using his laptop and asked to speak to him. She said she was the princess's personal maid and knew her to be kind and gentle and would not approve of how he treated his staff. Without a word, Olisa slapped her. She slapped him back. The prince immediately fired her. The king and Prince Emest walked in. Olisa said that Kambili slapped him and demanded she be fired. Kambili denied the allegation, saying she could never raise her hand against the prince. The king asked who hired her, and Emest admitted he did. The king replied that if Emest hired her, he couldn't be the one to fire her. A few minutes later, Prince Emest checked on Kambili and asked what she told his brother to get him so angry. Kambili said she only told him that the princess wouldn't like the way he treated people and that she was trying to help. Emest apologized on Olisa's behalf, but Kambili said Olisa should be the one apologizing. Emest said she didn't seem like a maid with how authoritative she was and how she spoke her mind. A meeting was called since Prince Olisa was going to marry the princess and leave the kingdom. He had to hand over the business to Emest and show him how things were run. Kambili was in the room, but Olisa told her to leave. As she did, the king called her back and asked if he had seen her before. Emest said she used to work at the Anyaki kingdom. The king said she looked exactly like the princess. Emest added that she looked beautiful. As she walked away, Olisa jokingly told Emest not to fall in love. King Uche was worried about his daughter. He had not seen or spoken to her in weeks. He told Nana to find her or she would be fired. Kambili stopped the prince in the hallway to speak to him. She told him it was good he knew the business world, but the princess didn't and he should teach her. She said she advocated for equality between men and women, but he didn't seem to value women. Olisa told her that women mattered, in the kitchen and the bedroom. Kambili told him to change his views if he wanted to marry the princess. Olisa got angry and asked why she spoke to him like that. Emest walked in and stopped him from hitting her. Olisa said Kambili was always bothering him about the princess, which annoyed him. Emest told him that Kambili liked him and was attracted to him. Olisa said he could never fall in love with a maid who was an underdog. Nana brought a message from the princess to the queen, saying she was doing fine and would be available a week before the wedding. While cleaning the palace, Lisha came in and ordered one of the maidens to carry her bags upstairs. Kambili asked who she was and was told Lisha was one of Olisa's girlfriends. Kambili was shocked. She said Olisa was supposed to be marrying Princess Ucheoma, but the maid warned her not to get involved. Later, the king asked Olisa why Lisha was back, thinking he had broken up with her. He told him to end all his relationships. Olisa replied that he hadn't even met the princess and, as a man, had the right to marry as many women as he wanted. He added that no one had inspired him to make the sacrifice of being with just one woman. Kambili mumbled something under her breath. Olisa heard her and got angry, telling her not to butt into their conversation. The king ordered Olisa to cut off all his relationships and focus on marrying the princess in a month. Olisa agreed, but said once he was crowned king, he would marry Lisha as his second wife. Lisha didn't want to hear it. Realizing Kambili had exposed him, Olisa summoned her. He was furious and ready to hit her, but Emest stood between them, protecting Kambili. She accused Olisa of being a womanizer. The insults flew, but Emest shielded her from being assaulted. Prince Olisa sent word for Kambili to come to his room. When she arrived, he told her that she was special and that he had never seen a woman like her. He confessed he was attracted to her, not because she threw herself at him like other women who gave him sex calls, but because of her boldness and aggression. Kambili tried to run away, but Olisa blocked her path and pushed her onto the bed. She began shouting. Just then, Prince Emest rushed in and stopped Olisa. He then went after Kambili to comfort her. Later, King Chijioke called Olisa to ask what had happened. Olisa, terrified and ashamed, said he was only trying to scare her and never intended to rape her. He just wanted her to leave the palace.
Meanwhile, Emest reassured Kambili that his brother would never rape her. He told her that Olisa once nearly killed a guard for trying to rape a maid. Emest said that Olisa would never touch a woman without consent. Olisa overheard this and later apologized to Kambili, explaining that he had lost control but never meant to harm her. For the next 2 weeks, Olisa stayed locked in his room. Emest checked on him, and Olisa said he remembered everything but was ashamed. He said he would never force himself on a woman and that he had lost control. Emest reminded him that everyone makes mistakes and that he shouldn't punish himself forever. One day, As Olisa was on the phone, he noticed Kambili watching him. Emist later asked her if she had feelings for Olisa, but she denied it. Olisa then visited King Ush to ask about the upcoming wedding and when the princess would return. He mentioned learning a lot from Kambili. The king and queen were shocked, asking how he knew her. Olisa said she worked for them. The king assured him that the princess would be available at the engagement party. Olisa then suggested they have dinner at his palace since his father was too ill to travel. The king and queen agreed. On his way back to the palace, Olisa was stopped by a fam, who warned him to stay away from the princess, claiming he would be the one to marry her and become king. Olisa warned him never to speak to him that way again and drove off. At the palace, Olisa called Kambili and asked who Afam was. She told him that he was the princess's boyfriend. Olisa asked why she had advised him to leave other women when the princess herself had a man. Kambili explained that the princess had been in love with Afam and had intended to marry him, but they had broken up. She added that they never had sex and that Afam, like Olisa, wanted to use the princess for power while sleeping with other women. Later, Kambili was teaching the palace maidens about financial independence. She told them how, in her kingdom, maidens learned skills to earn income. She said all that might end when the princess married Olisa. One of the girls remarked that Olisa would never allow women to have opinions, that he was wicked and they couldn't wait for him to leave. Hearing this, Olisa went to Emist and asked if he thought he'd be a bad king. Emist told him that while he had great ideas and ambition, his problem was dealing with people. He reminded Olisa that they were no longer children and that strength wasn't proven by harshness, especially toward women. Meanwhile, Mercy came to the palace pretending to be Kambili's sister. She told Kambili that their parents would be there in an hour and she needed to leave. Realizing her secret could be exposed, Kambili pretended it was a family emergency and left. Elsewhere, the two kings met to finalize the wedding. Meanwhile, the princess was with Nana, saying Prince Olisa was terrible and could never change. She admitted she wished he were more like Emist, calm, soft-spoken, and wise, everything she wanted for her kingdom. Nana asked if she was in love with Emist, but the princess said no. She confessed she had fallen in love with Olisa but didn't understand why she kept falling for the wrong man. When she returned to the palace, Olisa was waiting. He asked how her family was, having heard about the emergency. Kambili coldly said it was none of his business. Olisa replied that if she ever needed anything, he'd be there for her. Days later, Olisa found her reading and began asking her questions about the princess. Kambili asked why he wanted to marry her. Olisa said that since he was a child, he had been told he would marry the princess and become king. Hearing that the princess didn't want him had broken his heart. Kambili told him the princess wouldn't marry someone as arrogant as he was. Olisa was shocked, saying the princess didn't even know him. Kambili asked what happened when he met her and whether he did anything wrong. Olisa admitted the only thing he remembered was slapping a maiden. Kambili told him that it had been a test and that he had failed. She added that her experience didn't recommend him. Olisa then asked if she was a spy for the princess. Kambili responded with a question, "Do you think what I feel right now is loyalty?" As days passed, Olisa began to fall for Kambili. He often watched her cleaning and dancing. One time, as they were talking, they almost kissed before being interrupted by a knock. Olisa woke up, it had been a dream. Another time, he was watching her clean, and when she turned, he pretended he wasn't watching. Emist, who had been observing Olisa, told him that Kambili felt the same way. Eventually, Olisa went to his father and asked him to call off the wedding. He said he had fallen in love with Kambili. The king was furious, insisting he must marry the princess and become king, but Olisa had made up his mind. He then asked Emist to marry the princess so he could become king of both kingdoms, but Emist refused, saying he wouldn't marry someone he didn't know or love. Olisa called Kambili to his room and confessed that he couldn't stop thinking about her and couldn't sleep because of her. Kambili asked if he was still marrying the princess. He told her no, that he couldn't marry someone he didn't love, and that he loved her. Kambili admitted she was attracted to him too. Olisa said he had fallen in love for the first time and would give up everything to be with her. But disaster struck. While walking, Emist overheard some guards and maidens saying Kambili had slept with every guard in the compound. Furious, Emist confronted her. She denied the allegations, but when she asked the others why they were lying, they insisted it was true. Emist, feeling betrayed, fired her. When Kambili turned to Olisa for support, he turned away and left. Heartbroken, the princess returned to her palace in tears. Olisa, deeply affected by the breakup, turned to alcohol. On the day of the engagement, Olisa said he was ready to marry the princess and had moved on from Kambili. Just before they left for the celebration, a maiden entered and confessed. She said they had lied because they were jealous of Kambili. They had made up the story knowing the prince would overhear them. With this new information, Olisa told his father to cancel the wedding. He said he was going to find Kambili and marry her. The king refused, insisting he must marry the princess. Seeing his brother's pain and realizing it was the first time Olisa had truly fallen in love, Emist offered to marry the princess instead. Olisa thanked him and cried on his shoulder. At the palace, everyone gathered for the engagement party. King Shijiok announced that there had been a change of plans. The crown prince, Emist, would marry the princess. He said they had learned from a reliable source that Emist was the one the princess truly wanted. Olisa publicly declared that he was in love with another woman, Kambili. One of the maidens overheard and ran to the princess's room. The princess, furious, refused to put on her wedding clothes. She said she couldn't marry Olisa knowing he loved Kambili. Nana tried to comfort her, saying that she was Kambili, but the princess said Olisa didn't know that. The maiden entered and revealed the news that Olisa had refused to marry the princess because he was in love with Kambili. Overjoyed, the princess decided to put on her wedding clothes. When she walked downstairs, everyone was stunned. Olisa couldn't believe that Kambili was actually the princess. Her father was also shocked. Emist apologized for how they had treated her and explained that a maiden had confessed to lying about her sleeping with the guards. The movie ends with the king giving his blessing to the union of Olisa and